Two cars pull into the same gas station at the same time. The first driver glides up to a pump, parks neatly, swings the door open, walks 2 steps, and is already pulling the nozzle out. The second driver stops at the next pump, gets out, walks to the back of the car, realizes the fuel door is on the other side, sighs, gets back in, executes a slow, awkward U-turn around the pump island, and starts over. 2 cars, same brand of gasoline, same kind of trip, completely different ergonomics. So here's the question worth asking. Why isn't there a universal rule? Why don't all cars have their fuel doors on the same side, the way all cars have their steering wheels on the same side within a given country? Is it a regulation? Is it deliberate? Or is it just an accident of design that's been quietly inconveniencing every driver who's ever rented a car for the last 90 years? Here's the first thing most people get wrong. They think there must be a law. A federal safety standard that says the gas tank goes here, not there, end of story. That feels intuitive. It just happens to be wrong. There is no regulation anywhere in the world that specifies which side of a car the fuel filler must be on. None in the United States, none in Europe, none in Japan. The placement of that one small flap is completely at the discretion of the manufacturer. Every brand picks its own side, and they don't always agree, even within the same company. In the United States, Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors generally put the fuel door on the driver's side, the left. Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, the Japanese brands, also generally favor the left in the U.S. market. But BMW, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, Porsche, and most European brands tend to put it on the right, the passenger side. Same gas station, same pumps, completely different design philosophies pulling up next to each other. The reason this happens comes down to 4 different forces that are quietly fighting each other in every car company's engineering office. The first force is underbody packaging. Underneath every car, there's an extraordinary amount of stuff. The exhaust system, the drive shaft, the fuel lines, the rear suspension, the differential if it's a rear-wheel drive car, the electrical harness, the brake lines. The fuel tank itself is a large, oddly shaped container that has to fit somewhere in this 3-dimensional puzzle, usually just ahead of the rear axle. Once the tank is placed, the filler neck has to reach from the tank up to the side of the body. The shortest, simplest, least obstructed path determines which side gets the fuel door. A Nissan spokesperson described it bluntly to Allstate. Engineers run into so many restrictions underneath the vehicle that trying to force the filler to the same side on every model would be a packaging nightmare. Quick favor before we keep going. If you've ever wondered about the design decisions hidden in the cars you drive every day, hit that subscribe button. We dig into the small everyday mysteries that turn out to have surprisingly thoughtful reasons behind them. Now back to the tank. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. There's a second force, and it's about killing you. Or more precisely, not killing you. Imagine your car runs out of gas on the side of a highway. You walk to a station, fill a jerry can, and walk back. You're now standing next to the car on the shoulder, pouring fuel through the filler. If the filler is on the driver's side of a car driving on the right side of the road, you're standing in the road. Cars are coming up behind you at highway speed. If the filler is on the passenger side, you're standing on the shoulder away from traffic. A former head of research at what is now Mercedes-Benz, Bharat Balasubramanian, gave this exact reasoning to Marketplace. German autobahns don't always have a left shoulder. Drivers there fill from the right because the left is suicide. That's why most German cars sold in right-hand traffic countries have their tanks on the passenger side. The decision was made decades ago for a scenario that almost never happens to most drivers, but when it does happen, it matters more than anything else. The third force pushes in the opposite direction, customer convenience at the pump. American and Japanese manufacturers generally believe that in normal use, a driver should not have to walk around the entire car to reach the filler. The driver gets out, takes 2 steps, and the filler is right there. That's why most cars sold in the US and Japan put the tank on the driver's side. A Toyota engineer who spoke to Jalopnik said exactly this. The placement is based on company policy for customer convenience. They don't want the customer to walk around the truck. The fourth force, the one almost nobody thinks about, is the gas station itself. If every car in a country had its fuel door on the same side, every gas pump would be hammered by demand on one side and empty on the other. Lines would form in one direction. Cars would stack up. The unintended consequence of left-right diversity in a fleet is that gas stations spread the load evenly across both sides of every pump island. 2 cars can pull up to the same pump from opposite directions, fill at the same time, and leave. That mixed distribution isn't a deliberate industry agreement. It's a quiet, unplanned mathematical equilibrium. The market sorted itself out without anyone meaning to. There's a fifth, more boring factor. Some car makers route the fuel door release as a mechanical cable from inside the cabin to the door itself. Running that cable across the entire width of the car, over or under the drivetrain, costs material and adds points of failure. So they take the simple path. They put the fuel door on the same side as the driver, where the cable can run straight back along the floor. That's not philosophy. That's just laziness rewarded by economics. Now, for the moment of truth, most drivers don't realize is right in front of them. Look at the fuel gauge on your dashboard the next time you get into your car. Right next to it, there's a small icon of a fuel pump. And next to that pump icon, usually, there's a tiny triangular arrow. If the arrow points right, your fuel door is on the right side of the car. If it points left, the door is on the left. That arrow has been quietly telling drivers which side their tank is on for more than 3 decades, and most people have never noticed it. The arrow exists because of an unsung designer named Jim Moylan, who worked at Ford. In April 1986, Moylan was driving a company car in the rain when he pulled up to a gas station on the wrong side of the pump. He ran around the car in the downpour, got soaked, and was furious. He went back to the office and wrote a memo. He suggested adding a small arrow next to the fuel pump icon on every Ford dashboard to show drivers which side the filler was on. The idea was nearly free to implement. Ford rolled it out on the 1989 Ford Escort and Mercury Tracer. Every other automaker noticed. Within a few years, the arrow was standard worldwide. Mercedes-Benz had actually been doing something similar since 1976, with a triangular low-fuel warning light positioned next to the gauge, but Moylan's printed arrow was the version that swept the industry. He died in 2025, finally acknowledged by automotive media as the man who saved a few seconds of confusion for every driver, every gas station, for the last 35 years. You've been encountering versions of this same packaging-driven asymmetry in dozens of places without realizing it. Your laptop charging port. Some manufacturers put it on the left, some on the right. There's no standard. Your kitchen sink faucet. The hot tap is on the left in some standards, on the right in others. The door hinges on your refrigerator. Some swing left, some swing right, some are reversible. Your home washing machine. Front-load doors hinge on the side that won the engineering trade-off in that specific model. The wall outlet placement in your living room, determined by where the framing studs landed, not by where you wanted the lamp. Every one of these is the same kind of decision the fuel door designers made, a packaging puzzle with no central authority, each manufacturer doing what works for their architecture, the user adapting silently. Now, for the honest trade-off, the lack of standardization costs everyone a tiny amount of time, a few seconds at every fill-up. Multiplied across billions of refueling events per year, It adds up to real wasted minutes globally. But it also has hidden benefits. It distributes the load on gas stations. It lets engineers optimize each platform individually. And it forced one Ford designer in a rainstorm to invent a tiny dashboard arrow that has quietly saved hundreds of millions of awkward U-turns ever since. So here's where you land. The fuel door on the side of your car isn't where it is by accident, and it isn't where it is by law. It's where it is because 4 engineers in 4 different rooms in 4 different companies on 4 different continents looked at the same problem and reached 4 different answers. None of them are wrong. None of them are right. And the only person who pays for the disagreement is you, parked on the wrong side of the pump, trying to figure out how to back up without hitting the car behind you. If you think gas tank placement is weirder than it looks, wait until we get into why all cars have their steering wheels on the same side within a country, but the world can't agree on which side that should be. Because the reason humanity drives on the right in some places and the left in others has nothing to do with engineering. It has to do with swords, horse carriages, and a 1773 law in Pennsylvania that quietly chose the side for half the planet